And Mel had her own and she paid hers off.
Good morning. This is the Richland County Board of Commissioners, October the 17th of 24. I'm here with Commissioner Banks, with Commissioners Mears and Vero. Clerk Stacy Crawl, our Administrator Andrew Keller, our Engineer Adam Gove, and from the Richland Resource have Carl Hunnell. Anybody online? And gentlemen, would you introduce yourselves?
My name is Stephen McElhatton.
And Tom Call from Lexington.
Thank you. We'll do our other first, and at 10 o'clock we'll talk with you. Okay, so Mr. Engineer, have a couple resolutions you'd like us to pass? You want to explain what's going on?
Yes, so it's time for our annual OPWC, Ohio Public Works Commission, grant applications. And as usual, I have two that I would like to put in. The first one is a $500,000 grant request towards our Lexington Spring Mill Home Road intersection roundabout project. So that has safety money involved through the state, federal safety money that's administered by the state that covers 90% of the construction. There are a couple items that the state has said they are not going to fund, and that is bridge on Lexington Spring Mill and a culvert crossing just north of this intersection on Lexington Spring Mill. So those two are going to be locally funded, and that's kind of what this grant request is going towards. It's all part of one project, the roundabout project. This bridge and culvert will be replaced as part of that project, but this money will be used primarily for those replacements. Again, just looking at it, we have, I think the total construction of the roundabout project right now as planned is $2.9 to $3 million. That includes, like I said, those two structures that aren't going to be covered by ODOT, which that amounts to about $650,000.
But this has obviously been an off talk about construction projects. So I'm curious for the public's consumption, if you could speak about the safety aspect of the roundabout, what your public comment is telling you. You and I talked, if you get stopped by a resident, that roundabout is at the top of the list. So if all of Richland County was here today, what would be the reasons why you were supportive of the roundabout? We know obviously for safety, but if you could expound upon that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So we went through, and I don't know if I sent you the results of our public comment period, but we received public comments and we've put our responses together and sent those back out. They're posted on our website. A lot of the comments are concerned with cost, bike trail crossing, the hill to the north of this location. All of which I think we have some good responses for. Yes, we have our concerns about trucks getting up the hill on the north end of this project, but we feel that they have over a half mile to build up speed before they hit the steepest part of that hill. I know trucks today struggle with getting up that hill, so I don't think that changes. I mean, they struggle now, they're going to struggle in the future, even with this project. They make it up the hill. They don't usually stop. They make it up the hill, and they will continue to make it up that hill. I know people would ask about adding a passing lane going up that hill to get by those trucks, but that's a huge expense. And it's not just adding a lane up the hill. You've got to have a run out length to make sure people can get up to speed and pass trucks. And so at that point, you're almost talking about adding a third lane all the way to the Marion Road intersection, which would be a significant cost. Again, safety, I think that's the biggest thing. How are people getting crossed on the bike trail? Traffic will be going slower than it currently does now. I mean, we see vehicles going 60, 70 miles an hour through that section of roadway. They will have to slow down to about 20, 25 miles per hour to get around the roundabout. So therefore, people on the bike trail will have more time to react. They will only have to react to one lane of traffic.
Arrow might want a tunnel though.
And that came up. We've talked about that. Unfortunately, unless you want to swim through that tunnel,
I know,
it's just not feasible.
it'd be like a triathlon or something,
Right.
right? You bike and you carry it across the water.
So I know that was another big concern was how do the bike trail users interact with the traffic? And overall, it'll be a increase in safety. Trucks, farm equipment, that's another issue. This is going to be as big as the one we have on Illinois Avenue, Cook Road intersection. Trucks go through that one fine. I don't anticipate any issues with trucks on this one. We are looking at sign locations we know we have large farm equipment that goes through that area. So we are kind of picking our spots for our signs to make sure there's not a conflict between farm machinery and those signs.
Adam, the city has the one on roundabout on Straw Road. We've had the one on Illinois for a couple of years. How many bodily injuries have we had on those?
As far as I know, I think we just had our first minor injury accident. It was a rear end accident coming into the roundabout.
That's at Illinois.
Which one?
Illinois.
Our Illinois Avenue. I'll clarify that it also involved a drunk driver. So up until this year, this is the first year I think we've had two, and I have to double check on that, but I think we've had two accidents that actually involved more than one vehicle in the 2+ years that this has been open now.
Last time I checked with the city, they haven't, which I haven't checked for the last year, but had no bodily
Injury accident.
accidents at Straw Road.
Correct, yeah. I think this is our first one we've had at that one, the rear end accident. We've had a couple of property damage only. They'll knock down signs, they'll damage their car. But like I said, just one injury that I'm aware of at this point in time.
So with that, over the last 2 years, how does that compare with the prior 2 years when it was a standard intersection?
Standard intersection, we were averaging 7, I believe it was between 6 and 8 injury accidents a year at that location.
We had at the home road, Lexington Spring Mill. Well, that's not an intersection, you call it a T, right?
Well, it's still an intersection. It's, we were at that same number the last summary we did, which was, I think, 17 through 22. We were at 6+ injury accidents and we had one fatality there. And we continue to see minor accidents there. There've been a couple rear end accidents and this year.
Even if you are trying to abide by the speed limit, you come down that hill. That's a pretty steep hill. You get a good
So that's one,
rate of speed. Otherwise you're holding on your brakes pretty much all the way heading south on Lexington Spring Mill.
the speed limit is 50 miles an hour. I drove through there just the other week and I was able to maintain 50 miles an hour going down that hill with my brakes.
I was gonna say, with your brakes, you can do it, but it's
That's
your,
gonna be one issue we're gonna look at is drawing awareness to people's speed at the top of the hill. So they're not going 60 when they start down the hill and pick up speed as they continue down that hill. We are planning to have flashing roundabout light or signs there with the LEDs around them to draw additional attention to that intersection. Just trying to make sure everybody's aware of what, and when you get to the top of that hill, you can see quite a ways down there. You can see that intersection. You'll know you're coming up on something different.
when you put up the speed limit signs that track people's speed that are becoming more prevalent everywhere. Can you say what was the top speed you picked up coming down that hill?
I don't know for sure. I'd have to go back and look at that data. It was close to 100 mile an hour.
Didn't you say you picked up someone going over more than 100?
The top speed we've had, I think, is 115.
Yeah, I think you said you had
I believe that was on Millsboro Road
a 115 is the top you've recorded.
with those signs that we purchased several years ago.
Yeah, we don't
Sorry, this is not a,
residents or visitors to try to beat that.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I prefer they do
So Adam, in your
run past it.
professional opinion, you feel that this roundabout will certainly make our roads or thoroughfares in that area safer for everyone who travels?
Correct. And that's the reason we've started this whole project.
Tom, you had a question?
I have a comment. First of all, I'm remiss for not getting involved with the public process on this. I'm a ODOT traffic engineer and have looked at this a lot. There is an intermediate dip just north of the intersection that goes up and then goes back down and then comes back up about the driveway, about where the culvert is up there.
Right.
In most cases where people are sitting at an intersection and they're trying to judge the speed of an oncoming car that's coming up a hill, it's very difficult to judge the speed of the car. I don't know whether you've investigated just removing that intermediate dip and making it one grade down into the intersection, that might be a much less expensive and less invasive solution to this. Very similar situation at Route 97 and 314 in Morrow County, where the people coming up into the intersection, it's hard to judge their speed if you're sitting. So for what it's
We
worth,
did not look at that, but we did, I mean, we've done the crash analysis and I can tell you the majority of the accidents are actually from the other side of, they're from the south side. So people heading north on Lexington Spring Mill Road, people pulling out from Home Road in front of those people traveling north. That's where the majority of the accidents.
okay. And it may be because people are challenged by that view to the north and trying to make the judgment there and get an opening there that they miss coming around the corner, because you've got the same kind of thing going on there with the guardrail blocking part of that view from.
I mean, if you're out,
It's-
when you sit there, you can see both directions. If you take your time and look, you can see both north and south. But
I don't disagree.
I don't think that that would solve the issue that we've seen with our accident history, and we do feel that this is the best solution for that intersection.
If we can reduce 6 or 7 accidents a year down to the same thing you've done on Illinois Avenue, it's definitely a.
Right.
So I would entertain a motion to pass the resolution to allow Adam to, safety money is the first one. Is the other one the same kind of thing?
Yeah, so this is resurfacing of 5 county roads.
Do the engineer, let's do this one first. and
Okay.
back.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll talk about the one with the asphalt.
Yep, so the second application that I'm looking to submit to OPWC is for our resurfacing program for next year. Involves 5 roads, Dininger, Taylortown, Mansfield, Washington, Hastings, Newville, and Swigert roads. Amounts to about just over 13 miles of resurfacing. Total project cost on that one is 1.1 million, requesting a $500,000 grant.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
okay. And so have you got the contract then you want to bring up with K.E. McCartney?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yes.
The contract. I mean,
I just-
pretty standard.
Brought them up here, the signed ones are up here.
We're supposed to read them ahead of time.
I sent a blank copy that wasn't signed. It's the same thing.
Some of us do try to read a lot of our contracts.
I
Mr. Jeff.
appreciate that, yeah. So that is an agreement for construction inspection services on our Champion Road Bridge replacement with K.E. McCartney. And the Contract amount would be $49,900. It's a lump sum contract. Just to perform inspection services on that project that is, actually, the road has been closed and they've tore out the bridge. We've been monitoring, it, but we would like to get McCartney out there to start the inspection now, so.
Motion to approve.
I guess I'll second it as long as you don't have to work with Burkholder.
Not on this side, no.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes,
Commissioner Vero?
Yes.
Commissioner Mears?
Yes.
and you have another one? That's it.
That's all I have today.
Okay. Right, and we
Any other?
let Carl have some, I'm sure he's got questions. He's waving madly back.
Have little arms.
Yeah, there's a lot of reflection from that into the room.
One of the things our readers have asked about since this has come up is why Home Road, why not Cook Road? In terms of roundabout.
So we did a safety study of the corridor from Cockley Road up to Marion Avenue back in 2020. Where we studied each of the intersections. Home Road had the highest accident rate. So that was our starting point, was how can we fix the safety? Cook Road, from a safety standpoint, is actually not as bad. From a functional standpoint, probably worse. I know there's during the morning and afternoon shower can be a significant amount of traffic. Cook Road, so they have a long wait to make that turn off of Cook Road. But there were not as many accidents at that location. So that's where we felt we've poured better safety funds at the Home Road intersection.
One of the other things I often hear is in terms of improving safety of intermittent steps, why not a traffic light?
At Home Road,
At home.
it's not, that's not much of a step. It's almost a similar solution. But then you would be stopping traffic on Lex Spring Mill that maybe wouldn't be otherwise. You could have one car pull up on Home Road and have a bunch of traffic stopped on Lex Spring Mill. Not as efficient as a roundabout and moving vehicle. Going back to the concern about the hill, you would possibly be stopping traffic and trucks at the intersection and starting from zero.
It's the grade of that hill.
It's a little over 8%, around 9. And then safety roundabout is still optioned. You're slowing all traffic down, having high speed traffic run through a stoplight, which can happen.
Thinking about that, about 13 going south out of Beautiful. That traffic is a nightmare.
Not my jurisdiction, sorry.
The other, actually what it is, the other day I'm leaving to turn left on the 13, traffic is backed up from Hanley to Straw.
Mhm.
Traffic is backed up coming off the interstate onto the interstate, trying to do that.
Yep.
I can't wait to see what happens when that project actually begins. That's
Right.
gonna be. Well, that's just. In terms of the timeline, when do you expect to hear back on this grant, and what does that do in terms of the actual construction schedule?
So we should know where we stand with the grant by the end of this year. We are entering the right-of-way phase project. We need to acquire a little bit of additional right-of-way for the bike trail relocation. So we're still on track for spring 26 construction start.
And the bike trail, is the plan still to close it temporarily while this work is underway?
Yes.
So you couldn't go from one end of the bike trail to the other? How long do you have to stop there or find a way?
We're planning a 90-day max closure. Hopefully it can be done quicker than that. Or maybe we get a section done that we're able to open that bike trail back up, but we'll have to see once we get into construction.
And how long for that intersection closure? Because I assume that, so you're gonna have to close that end of Cook Road and you, Home Road. And you're gonna have to close Lake Spring Mill in both directions. How long will traffic be blocked?
Again, we're planning a 90-day max closure. A total project, we're probably at 120 days, but hopefully just a closure for 90.
What I have,
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to other. We get a motion to certify the record of proceedings for October the 10th.
So moved.
Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Can we approve the weekly transfer or approve the requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Can we approve the weekly transfers and appropriations?
Moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have over dimension permits, and this would be from R. Zimmerman Incorporated, moving trailer with vehicle and hauling a piece of equipment from north on Route 13 down to Noble Road.
So moved.
Second.
Banks.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have another overweight and overdimensioned vehicle permit for Crawford Construction to move some equipment into Richland County.
So moved.
Second.
Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
And we authorize the termination of a probationary employee at Day Springs.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
And then Andrew, I'm going to call on you to talk to us about the approval of a second amendment notice of ARPA expenditures. This relates to the Belleville Sewer Upgrade Project.
Sure, this is,
Nothing to do with the other Second Amendment, right?
not as important. It's an administrative adjustment, really. The part two of our design REL for the Belt Engineering Project, there was a little over $22,000. That was a contingency item that may or may not chargeable. We still don't know that. I just spoke to the engineer recently. Because we are approaching our obligation deadline at the end of the year, we really don't have time to wait. We want to make sure we utilize that money. So we're backing that money out, that ARPA award, and we're going to put it into our construction award. So I can answer any questions you might have, but it's an administrative adjustment to make sure that we maximize our use of ARPA dollars.
I just want to make sure, as you know, you and I keep dueling spreadsheets here on remaining ARPA monies. I was looking at it yesterday. So this reduces the REL engineering portion. So it would amend, and so that we've had 2 engineering approvals, if you include today. The total amount of the second engineering approval then would be 350,821. Is that correct? And that's reduced.
Is that's the updated amount for the second of 3 engineering notice of award.
And that's reduced.
It's reduced.
And we expect it to go into next week under the construction side, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then I show that the first engineering award was 373,671. So if you include today's, that's 724 comma 492. Is that correct?
The 373 was what it was immediately previous.
Yep.
However, originally it was 358. So this award this is the second amendment on part two engineering.
There is a part three engineering too.
Don't have that. Well, hold on. All right, Andrew, what's the total amount for the three engineerings as of today?
Sum total,
Yes.
I don't have that in front of me. It was
Let's
roughly, it was 43 of the first one.
show 43,344.
Yep, this is 350, 821, and then 424 or 425 is part three.
I'd have to look.
Let's get offline because I'm not matching with that, but I certainly don't want to slow this up. Let's just get together offline and we'll figure out the amounts.
Yep, you can do that.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay, it's
If they matched, they wouldn't be dueling spreadsheets, so.
Battle, Carl, that him and I have over these spreadsheets.
Carl, do you have any questions? Thank you. It is 9:56 and we will recess until 10 o'clock.
So I mean, it's a 7-0.
Ten o'clock, we are back in session. We have been joined by our Archie McMillan from WMFD, which we haven't seen for a while, so welcome back. Good to see you. Thank you. And Ben Moody, you've asked for this meeting, and so we're going to turn it over and hear your, obviously you got a presentation going here. So proceed.
Thank you very much for your commitment to our community. I've also brought with me Mr. Tom Culp and also Mr. Steve McElhatton, local citizens in the area. You have bios I've provided for both of you. The reason why Steve and Tom are here today is their investment in Israel. They've spent significant time in Israel. Tom was actually in Israel at the time of October 7th, the massacre that took place. So he has partnerships that were outlined in that bio, mostly volunteer service to the nation of Israel. And as you heard from the previous session, Tom has an engineering experience that he likes to share also. And then Steve McElhatton behind me has also led, he's been to Israel 5 times and led tours, I think between 25 and 30 folks that come with him to visit Israel, and he would do tours and lead those around the different sites of the holy city of Jerusalem. So I wanted to bring them along also. And in addition to the bios I provided you, I gave a pamphlet and also a little card talking about Israeli bonds, which is our subject here. So I'll go ahead and get started. Last week was the anniversary of the October 7th massacre. If activists on American college campuses spew hate about Israel, I cannot forget the Jews who were beheaded, their babies burned alive, and civilians who were taken hostage only to be tortured for the next 365 days. I want to thank the Richland County Board of Commissioners for your staunch support of the nation of Israel, that including recognition of the 75th anniversary of Israel last year. We had a session up in Shiloh, Ohio with that little press conference. But also your attendance at Holocaust Remembrance Services are greatly appreciated. And also your investment in Israeli bonds is greatly appreciated. Section 135 of the Ohio Revised Code does allow county governments to invest in foreign bonds under certain conditions. More than 115 state and municipal public employee pension funds, treasury funds, have invested more than $5.8 billion in Israeli bonds. Since Israel bonds started in 1951, they have never missed a payment despite going through the COVID pandemic, despite going through the 7 Days War in 1967 and the Yom Kippur War of 73. We had the Lebanon conflicts of 78, 82, and 2006, the Intifada wars of 87 and then 2000. And I think you understand they're very stable in making payments for their bonds. I do, unfortunately, the past September 18th, the UN General Assembly passed a resolution by 120-14 margin, calling for the expulsion of Jews, of all Jews in East Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria within 12 months. I've heard reports the Secretary General stated he would enforce this resolution if Israel does not comply. In the map to your right of me, we see Israel's neighborhood that they have. So we see, this doesn't include Afghanistan and some of the Arab countries in the region outside this map, but we see a host of folks that don't really care for Israel's existence. It's one thing to not like your neighbor. Maybe your neighbor has issues with pets coming across your property line or whatever, but this is about exterminating the state of Israel. So anyway, I want to go on and say, while Richland County benefits from conservative fiscal policies maintained by the Board of Commissioners, it is my belief that Richland County also benefits from moral clarity from its leaders. It is my observation that Israel carries the moral high ground, whether it's notifications by text or by leaflets to foreign civilians, a warning about impending military strikes, or whether it's precision attacks on enemy combatant leadership or its humanitarian efforts. Israel values the sanctity of life. For example, over the years, Israel has consistently provided medical care to Palestinian terrorists, including leaders of the Palestinian resistance movement. On the flip side, Israel's enemies use civilians as human shields. Recently, Israeli Defense Forces uncovered weapons warehouses in dozens of civilian residences that include cache of mortar shells, mines, Kalashnikov rifles, firearm magazines, and combatant vests. In fact, they found they had an attack that was supposed to be bigger than October 7th. This was just uncovered. But they found these weapons, because the Army, I'll go on, the Army also says they found a Kornet anti-tank missiles and caches of these military weapons and missiles were meant for Hezbollah's elite Radwan forces as they suited up for the invasion of northern Israel. So in other words, they store these weapons in civilian homes, dozens of civilian homes. So it's pretty crazy how they, if you watch some of the media releases that the IDF releases and the graphics where they've got these homes with actual rockets inside the living room. Investing in Israeli bonds helps promote a nation that has shared Judeo-Christian values. Israel has never missed interest or principal payments on Israel bonds since its inception in 1951. After the Hamas-Israel war broke out on October 7th, more than 15 states and municipal governments and institutions have invested in Israeli bonds in a meaningful show of support. This includes Ohio State Treasurer Robert Sprague, Franklin County, Lucas County, and Stark County. I did have a phone call with the director of Israel bonds for Ohio and Kentucky, Mr. Tom Lockshin. He's a director last week, and he was giving me the lowdown on the status of Israel bonds statewide. He did mention about Cuyahoga County receiving quite a bit of heat from folks that wanted Cuyahoga County to divest or to remove Israel bonds from the portfolio.
The county does have, as you know, on a monthly basis, I review our operating account, right? The meter sends it every month and I'm in there looking at our investments. We actually have 4 investments in Israeli bonds. I just looked last month. So the county is certainly investing in those bonds. I just want to be clear that we're certainly supportive of Israel's cause 100%. And I knew that you were coming in, although I think with Bart and Meter here, I think the timing, but we understand how schedules work. We do have 4 investments in Israeli bonds.
It's my understanding that we have down. You're always ahead of me.
Sorry, I'm
No.
always preparing and I wanted to make sure I looked ahead of time and I'm always in the reports looking at our investment portfolio because I wanted to make sure that we were doing our best to support the cause. And we have 4 investments directly in Israeli bonds.
Okay. This month on October 1st, it's my understanding. Correct me also if I'm not accurate here. This month, Richland County investment portfolio, $300,000 in Israeli bonds did mature. It's my understanding by the end of 2025, all of the Israel bonds were expiring.
I showed December 2024 and a couple of them in October of 2025. So we're still about a year out.
Right.
And 3 months.
Having said that, I wanted to give you with the history of Israel bonds. I know in 2019, I believe, is whenever the Commissioner Board first invested Israeli bonds. I think it was $200,000 worth. And then we had in 22, Meads, along with Mr. Hamilton, increased those investments of Israel.
Let me backtrack. I apologize, Ben. It's actually 2. We have 2 for the amount of $550, 1 in December and 1 in October of 25. So we have about $500,000 invested in Israeli bonds.
Okay. Does it still mature in 25 or?
1 is 25 and 1 is 24.
Okay. So we had 40 lead clergy that sent a letter to the Commissioner Board way back in 2018 requesting, and then Mr. Hamilton advised that we had local citizens and churches begin investing in Israeli bonds. Then in 22, we had 33 lead clergy from Richland County that personally invested in Israeli bonds. It did get some attention. As a county commissioner board, you should have knowledge about what your constituents are doing, and it's just courtesy for us to report to you. We did have Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu send correspondence to us thanking lead clergy for their support, whether it's through bonds or through investments by the county. My funny part is my wife was about ready to throw away the mail on Tuesday because we get junk mail on Tuesdays. And then she was one toss away from throwing a letter from the Prime Minister in the trash can. So, but anyway,
Get it on Tuesday. That's new to me.
And we know who we know the real boss of the Moody household is, and she's sitting 2 rows behind you. So
Yep. Due to her, she's not allowed to comment on any fiscal items because of her career, but I do get the orders from her and financial advice.
smart man.
Yeah. So on that, on August 14th, Fitch affirmed Israel bonds at A+ with stable outlook, and on October 25th, 2023, and the S&P maintained Israel at AA- rating. Last known, the rate was 3.96 for a 2-year bond, but that has recently changed. So again, I want to thank you for your fiscal responsibilities in maintaining the budget. I know I see the news, whether it's stories that Carl runs or other media outlets, WMFD included, doing reports about directors asking money from the budget. And you guys scrutinize everything, and I appreciate that because you value Richland County taxpayer dollars. It's my belief also that not only is fiscal responsibility a benefit to county taxpayers, but also moral clarity by its leaders. Having said that, it's my opinion too that Israel bonds won't let taxpayers down, and that it does have a good return. So thank you again for listening in, and appreciate your leadership.
I'm still very supportive of us continuing to have those type of investments. Have you given a similar presentation to Bart, right? Because obviously we have the investment advisory committee, but the treasurer does direct the county's investments with oversight from the investment advisory committee. Have you had a chance to sit down with Bart, make this similar request, and that he continue to invest in those bonds?
I have not. That would be good if I do that.
That would be your next step. I too support. First of all, we have to watch out for the county. It's the citizens' money. You have to invest it. You also have to watch out for the citizens that without Israel, our security of this nation is much less than it has been. And with all the terrorists over there and over here, we need to support Israel. And when I was in the Army, I visited Dachau, and I'm hoping we can work something out.
We don't speak for each other, Ben, but I'm very confident that we have a board of county commissioners that is unanimous in their support of Israel. 100%.
Without question.
100%.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question.
So appreciate your fiduciary responsibilities that you have to guide our county finances correctly and properly. And we appreciate the great job that you've been doing.
Thank you.
We're simply encouraging, let's continue.
I think Bart, it's hard to, I don't want to say never, but we've had record interest returns in the county's portfolio. So I'm gonna have to give Bart a thumbs up on what he's been doing. That's not to say, but I'm pretty comfortable in saying I think Bart will continue to have some investment in the Israeli bonds. So please get with him, sit down, but I'm comfortable in saying he'll continue that investment.
The right thing to do.
Yep.
Did you have any questions, Archie? Any questions? Okay, Ben, he'll want to talk to you out in the hall.
Carl may have questions.
Carl.
I had 2 or 3 when you started and you answered them along the way, so I'm good.
And sit down with Bart, please. You guys get an appointment. Bart's very open to meeting with you. Sit down with him and I'm sure he'll help you out.
And from my standpoint, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you're standing behind Israel.
Yes, sir.
When friends are in duress, that's the time you step up.
We need to do it. Okay.
In our best interests.
Yep.
Mutual best interest.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Is 10:15 and the commissioners' meeting stands adjourned.